Hi guys, Tom here. I just finished changing my motorcycle clutch lever and I realized this would be a great opportunity to videotape this so others who have not done this can learn how to change their own motorcycle clutch levers. These levers break. I had an aftermarket one I didn't like, so I went back to the stock style, and it's a pretty easy change. First, the lever has a pivot point right here, and that pivot point has a lock nut underneath as well as a screw that it apparently pivots on, and I'll show you that. So let's take it off. Using a wrench to hold that lock nut and a flathead screwdriver, I'm going to remove the pivot point. Now, being careful, the nut has fallen out. It's a lock nut, one of those nylock ones. So I'm going to just keep this with the magnetic parts tray I have right on the side of the gas tank and continue unscrewing the pivot point. That too will go onto the magnetic parts tray. This dust cover will get moved back, and you'll find the adjustment screw and a lock screw. So we're going to take the lock screw all the way back. We're going to take the adjustment screw all the way in. That will create a lot of slack to remove the lever from its housing. Now I'm going to flip the lever out, which is going to allow the cable to be removed. And I'll show you how that's done once the lever comes out. So the cable has this little nub on the end, and when the nub is inside this little housing, it slides down in this groove and comes out this end of the lever when it's in the pivot point. So if you take the lever out and take the cable and rotate the cable and the lever so that the cable lines up with this little notch, the whole nub and cable comes out, and this is now a free lever. So before we install the lever, this is an opportunity to clean out the housing. You can get old grease, grime, any lubricant that might be in there. You also check to see if there's any burrs, any foreign material. Once it's nice and clean, you have a new lever. Now if you look at this opening right here, the cable's nub end will fit in and slide down this channel right here. Once the lever is rotated back towards the handlebar, the cable will follow this channel down and the nub and the cable will be locked in. You can also notice on this lever, there's a projection right here. That's for the clutch switch. My starting circuit, if the bike is in gear and it doesn't sense the clutch is pulled in, it won't start. So the starting motor will be disabled. Just make sure if you're swapping out your clutch, that if you have one of these disconnect switches, you have some type of ability to activate and deactivate that switch as necessary. So this clutch lever is very much a stock style. So it has everything I need for it, including the size of the pivot, the projection, and where the cable fits in. I'm grabbing the cable end, little nub, work from this angle. We're going to work the nub into this little opening. Once the nub is in the lever, I'm going to rotate it towards the handlebar. Now we can grab our little pivot screw. Once again, clean off any dirt or grime. You can get this nice and clean. Now if it's a street bike, you can put grease on here. It doesn't collect as much grime as maybe a Dual-Sport like this does, or a dirt bike, even worse. So a lot of times people like to use dry lubricants. I've heard of people taking pencils and just kind of scratching all over, try to put a little graphite on there. However, leftover from the Pinewood Derby days, I have some powdered graphite. A little powdered graphite might very well attach itself. It's a little shiny, sparkly. If not, as clean as possible is probably the best. Prevent the collection of dirts and oils and greases and road grime. See, a little sparkly. So I'm going to push the pivot screw down to where it lines up again. There's a smaller threaded section in the back that this has to line up with. Okay. I have to look straight down. Once it's threaded in or lined up, I like to go backwards a couple times, make sure nothing's cross-threaded, and it screws right down. Now in this clutch, this pivot screw actually screws in, threads into the backside. For extra safety, there's a little nylon lock nut, but because we are thinking about safety, the nut is going to get a little thread locker on the inside, right on threads. There we go. Of course, I'll be messy on camera. That's why I have my little shop towel next to me at all times. Goes on the other side. Once you get to the end, it's not unusual that the screw might move a little. So, turn the screw in the opposite direction, clockwise, and the nut is on there. Check for operation. Looks fine. Now, just clean up. If you want, you can put a little graphite right inside the lever. But let's get this properly adjusted. We're going to turn out on the set screw. There's a little bit of free play. Some people put like something in there, just kind of hold it. Hold the lever to a certain gap. Some people put a quarter in there. Sometimes they put 2 quarters in there. Once I have a consistent gap, I'll readjust the lock nut. Here we go. When you turn the lock nut, don't be surprised that the set screw changes. So hold the set screw, turn the lock nut. Nice. And just as a check, make sure you didn't disconnect your safety switch. Now the dust cover is back on. All done. This would be best to take out on the road, do a ride, take off your magnetic parts tray before you ride, and that's it. If there's any questions, comments, suggestions, greatly appreciate it. Leave them below. Appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.